We've heard about lobotomized patients being kept in institutions for decades without anyone knowing who they are or why they're there. But what about the lobotomized relative of the President of the United States? Hi, I'm your host, and today we'll be looking at the lobotomized and forgotten patient, Rosemary Kennedy. The year was 1941. The place, a small town in Maryland. The lobotomy procedure had been invented 12 years earlier by August Maine, a Portuguese neurologist. And since then, it had been performed on several hundred patients across Europe and the United States with varying degrees of success. It was believed that the procedure could cure everything from anxiety to schizophrenia. And so it was with great hope that the parents of a young girl named Rosemary Kennedy brought her to Walter Reed Hospital to undergo the procedure. Unlike most of the patients who had lobotomies, Rosemary wasn't suffering from a mental illness, but she was having violent mood swings and was extremely impulsive. She would have tantrums at school, during which she would throw rocks at other children. She was also very aggressive towards her father, the infamous Joseph P. Kennedy, who would often hit her as a form of punishment. On one occasion, she even hit her father back and drew blood. This, of course, enraged him even more, and he decided that something had to be done. At the time, lobotomies were still experimental and were only performed on patients who had severe mental illnesses. But seeing as Rosemary had attacked his own flesh and blood, he didn't think twice when he decided to have her lobotomized. He personally administered the procedure to her while she was asleep. He inserted the instrument into her brain and severed some of the nerve connections. When she woke up, she was a changed person. But unfortunately, for whatever reason, she wasn't changed for the better. Instead of calming her down, the lobotomy made her violent and unpredictable. Her father was horrified at what he had done and kept secret the lobotomy from her mother and siblings, as well as the doctors at the hospital. He even went as far as to cover up the procedure by staging a visit from Rosemary's psychiatrist, who told the family that she was fine and that no lobotomy had been performed. He then transferred her to another hospital where she was diagnosed with schizophrenia and given a heavy dose of insulin shock therapy. After this, she became catatonic and remained so for the next 23 years. The truth of what happened to Rosemary came out only after her father died in 1969. Her mother and siblings began visiting her on occasion, but she had no idea who they were. Throughout her life, she never spoke a word and spent most of her time staring off into space. She was eventually moved to a Wisconsin institution where she lived out the remainder of her days. In the early 1990s, one of Rosemary's siblings began visiting her on a regular basis. She had no idea who he was, but she did seem to recognize her mother. However, after her mother died in 1995, Rosemary never spoke again. It seems that the lobotomy had not only diminished her mental capacity to that of a 2-year-old, but had also erased her memory of her family. In 2005, Rosemary's brother revealed that she had passed away 3 years earlier. At the time, she was 82 years old and had been living at the same institution in Wisconsin for over 40 years. No one knows exactly why she was lobotomized or why her father kept secret from her mother and siblings. But it doesn't really matter now because all that remains of her is a grave in a Wisconsin cemetery and a lobotomy procedure. Gone wrong. If you enjoyed this video, then check out our other content where we publish similar videos. Thanks for watching.